While we were talking, Joshua, I found a way, since we're limited on time, I found a way to show you both at the same time. So I'm gonna build you a template, because I brought this up last week that you kind of lit up. Last week I told you I was going to show you how to do a custom template and then use an existing template to build the custom out. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
So we'll do that as a change order.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you can only do a change order, obviously, with a job that's been accepted. All right. You can't create a change order if the job hasn't been accepted. So we're going to go here to Joe homeowner. Yeah. Okay. So right here, Joshua, you can see here, there's a plus sign and there isn't one here. All right. If there's a plus sign, that means that there has been change orders written on that project. Okay. Does that make sense? So, so right here, there's no change order. All right. So if it's been accepted, we can make a change order. So we come over here to the three dots, we click on them, and we just say create change order.
Okay.
Now I'm going to geek out about this because it's really cool. So Joshua, it's going to show you the original proposal that you built. Okay. Everything in the original proposal is there, right? So what's cool about that is last year, you got to change the way you think a little bit, right? So last year, I had a client that we gave her a bid for a fire pit. Okay. Then she came back and she's like, well, okay, I want to do a bigger burner. I want to do a bigger ring. Well, you can't in our software, you could, I guess, you could go in and try to figure out how to add an additional amount to the existing fire pit. But the best way to do it is you would go in and you would, let's say this was my fire pit. Okay. I'd open it up and I'd say delete and credit. Now it turns it red, right? So if this was a fire pit, I would basically go into the original contract that she signed and I would say, all right, we're going to delete this and we're going to credit her for the original fire pit. And then I'm going to give her a new bid for the new fire pit that she wants. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And now it doesn't delete this until she accepts it. So if she says, no, I don't want to do that, I want to stick with the original, then the original fire pit is still on the project budget and it's still a go.
Okay.
None of this takes place until she accepts. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that's how you would like anytime she wants to upgrade something, you would basically just delete and credit the existing and create a new one. Now, if they wanted to extend their beds, right, then you would just go and you would just do a new bed section and you would make a new bed section. But when it comes to something like a fire pit or like a pavilion, let's say they signed up for an 18-foot by 20-foot pavilion, but now they want a 20-foot by 24-foot pavilion. I would just go in and delete and credit the 18 and give her a new bid for the 24 by 20 instead of trying to figure out the differences and all that. Make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And you want to think that way because you could just go in and create a custom section. Am I confusing you?
No.
I'm trying to think of the way most guys would do it. It would be easier for you. Let's say you just were like, I just want another $10,000. You could go in and create a new section and you could say pavilion add-on, and you could just put a line item in there for $10,000, give it to her. And that could be your change order, but that doesn't help your crews out in the field because they don't know now what's been happening. Right. So that's why when you create these change orders, you want to be thinking about two things, how she's interpreting it or your client's interpreting it. And then once it's accepted, how your guys are going to interpret it in the field.
Yeah.
That's really important. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do then is we're going to create a change order. And this happened to us last week. We're going to create a change order and we're going to make a new section. All right. So it's going to be a custom one and we're going to call it French drain. All right. I didn't have a French drain template. I really didn't know how to build one so that it was automated, but hey, we figured it out. So we'll add that. Now remember, this is a change order. So this is now green. So that means that even though we're working in the same proposal, anything that's green has been added. So it doesn't confuse you. You know that, all right, I've got anything that's green is added, right? Okay.
Okay.
So once we add it, we're going to open it up. Now it's a custom template. So there's no calculator up top, right? Because it's basically saying we're giving you a blank canvas. All right. So now I have to think about what template in the software would work best for building out a French drain, or is there one? So I'll go over here, and right here it says select format. Okay. So I can select this, and it shows all of the templates that the software comes with. All right. So we've got retaining walls. It's not I'm not going to use a retaining wall template. Definitely not going to use irrigation, not going to use edging. I could potentially use buildup, but I don't want to. Not going to use concrete. But you know what? I think I could use gravel walkway. That could be, and by the way, I think gravel walkway works really well for a lot of the custom templates that I've built. All right. Because it's simple. It's got the calculator in it. It will calculate square footages, and it'll calculate gravel. And I've built my garden boxes out with the gravel walkway, and I built the French drain with the gravel walkway. So I'm going to click. Okay. Is this making sense? Because I don't want to move on unless this makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense.
All right. So we're going to click gravel walkway. And now look at that. Now it puts it into a gravel walkway template. Is that badass or what? I think it's so freaking cool. So now you have to use your brain, and you have to think like, how can I manipulate this in order to do a French drain? Well, a big part of the French drain that we were building for this client was excavation. This French drain. So I'll give you a little bit of backstory. We're doing a huge job up on the South Hill, and they've got a massive driveway that we sold them a week ago. Massive driveway. It's a double residence house. So you've got the in-laws on one side, the family, the kids on the other side. They've got a huge driveway that goes across the front of the entire house, then wraps around and enters into both garages. It's massive, right? And then their house sits here, and then the road sits almost level with the house. But then there's this big valley, right? So where the big driveway is going across the house, the road slopes down to the driveway, and all of our landscaping and the driveway slopes down to that. So there's literally, you're going to build a lake. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
But the asphalt's level. It's flat. There's no slope at all. So the whole asphalt just has to tip towards the road. And if we don't put a French drain in there, we're going to be screwed. Now, to excavate that trench, we're going to have to use lasers because we don't want to over excavate. So it's going to take a minute, right, to excavate this thing out. And so Kevin and I figured out, all right, so we're going to dig this thing 2 feet wide by 2 feet deep is how big this French drain is going to be. This subgrade layout is getting measured by the square foot. You can't change the unit of measurement on this right here. It is by the square foot, period, end of story. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You can't change it. This is set in the software. So I had to say, all right, if it's by the square foot, if I go 2 feet by 2 feet, how long is it going to take us to do a 4 square foot section? Right. And so we basically said, it's going to take us 4 minutes to dig 4 feet. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
All right. So the length of our French drain was 400 feet. So I'm going to put in 400 feet. And Kevin told me that it was probably going to take anywhere from 8 to 11 hours just to excavate this French drain. So I'm going to go 400 feet, and then my width is going to be 2 feet wide. Okay. and that's in feet. So I'm going to go 2 feet wide. And then my base course depth, right? That's going to be 2 feet deep. But what do you have to put that in inches? You have to look at what we're asking for, guys. This one, we want you to do it in inches, and all these we're doing in feet. So I'm going to go 24 inches. Am I making sense, Greg?
Yeah, keep going.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to hit enter. And now it's got my base course, right? I'm going to bring in 60 yards of material. And right now we're saying that it's going to take 1 minute for every 10 square feet, but I have to change that. So there's 2 ways to do this, right, Joshua? If Kevin tells me it's going to take 8 hours to dig it, I'm just going to go 8 hours so I don't have to screw with the math and hit enter. And it's 6 minutes for every 10 square feet, right?
Okay.
So you can keep it that way, or I was having fun with it. And what I ended up doing is I ended up saying it was going to take 4 minutes for every, I think it was 4 square feet. I'll hit save. And so now I'm at 13 hours. So that's, yeah. So that's longer. And then, and actually Kevin said that's about what it was going to take, to do it. So,
Okay.
so we played with it. And in my brain, because our bucket's 24 inches wide, I was thinking, all right, it's 24 inches wide. How long is it going to take to go 2 feet? And that's how we got up with the 4 minutes to dig it, make sure that our levels are right, stuff like that. So that's how we did it. Now our base course, we know that we're going to fill this thing up with basalt chip, clean basalt chip, right? So I'll just put in my basalt chip, 1.5 inches. That takes care of my base course. And then our filter fabric, I don't have filter fabric in my demo account, but we'll just put in weed fabric. We're just going to put in my landscape weed fabric. And then our pipe, right? So now we have to add our pipe. So I'm going to click and I'm going to do a, what is it? A 2729. So it's a 4-inch rigid perforated drain pipe is what, are you building this, Joshua, as I'm going?
I am, yeah.
Okay. That's fine. Tell me if you need me to slow down. Okay.
Okay.
Are you following along?
Yep. I'm
Okay.
right where you are.
All right. So now we're going to click on the 4-inch rigid perforated drain pipe. And I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to add a material. And I'm going to type in fittings. Because I don't know exactly what fittings we're going to use. So I'm just going to use, hold on. We don't have it. I don't have it. Do you see, Josh, in yours, 4-inch drain S&D general fittings?
I do.
Click on that. I'm going to click on sewer because I don't have them in my demo account, but click on the 4-inch drain S&D general fittings.
Okay.
Okay. Now that should literally take care of all of your French drain. Then, Joshua, we have to think about, all right, now that we've got the French drain, we have to take it somewhere. Right? So
Okay.
at this, now our French drain is so vast and so big that we're actually bumping up to 6-inch pipe at the end of it. And then we're running that 6-inch pipe to, I can tell you, it's freaking nuts. Another 400 feet we had to go to be able to daylight it. This French drain, guys, came to $25,000. So, but this is an extreme instance, right? So, but you can basically say, okay, Joshua, here's what we would do. So now we've got the French drain built. Now we have to tap into that French drain. We've already got our fittings taken care of, right? So now we're going to go with the 2729 solid. 4-inch solid drain pipe. And that's going to take you from the French drain to wherever, if you're going to daylight it or if you're going to build yourself a dry well, but that's going to take the water from the French drain, make it solid, and then it's going to take you to wherever you want to go dump it. Make sense?
Okay.
And Kevin, when he did ours, he just built in a 4-inch rubber coupler. So you could actually make that connection if you wanted to with a 4-inch S&D rubber coupler. So if you want to put that into your proposal, you can, just so your guys have it. So there's a little bit of flex or whatever, or you can glue it. I know he likes those rubber couplers because they're easy to put on, and you know, obviously we don't care if it leaks, but they don't leak. But anyway, there's that. Now we've only done the excavation, right, for the French drain. So now we have to do the excavation for the solid drain pipe. So we're going to come up here and you're going to type in excavation. You have to let me know if it's in that. Let's see. It's called utility trench labor. Look that up, please. Yeah, it's there. You have it?
I do not.
Okay, we'll add it. So just add the item and I will go to my catalog and I'll tell you how I have it set up. Okay.
You got to save first.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that so much. Let's go to materials and we're going to go to utility. Whoops. Okay, Joshua, we're going to put it in. Unit type is going to be your subcategory, right?
Uh-huh.
Is always, your
Labor.
category is always going to be labor because this is a labor item.
Okay.
Okay. And then your unit type is going to be by the foot.
Okay.
And then I'll make sure Kevin, he's doing 2 minutes for every foot. Now, again, this is really trick, right? This is, I mean, we don't have the room. You know, if you were on a spot where it was really steep, you wouldn't have to put as much time. But if it's something where you literally have to make sure you got an 1/8 inch per foot, you're going to put more time in, right? So you could have different utility trench drain. You could have utility trench labor easy and utility trench labor difficult. And that way you could have different times. But on this one, we went 2 minutes for every foot.
Okay.
I think you could go 1 minute for every foot. And then if you have a difficult job, you could bump that up to 2 minutes for every foot.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And obviously, since it's a labor item, you're not going to use price, right? You're not saying right, Joshua.
Right.
He's working.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So now we can go back to my change order, which is right here. Okay. Now this is something I forget to do, Joshua, but while we're in here, the first thing you should do is change the job name. So whenever you do a change order, it's going to pull up the original contract and the job name is going to be the original job name that you called the original job, right?
Okay.
So here, since it's a French drain, we're going to call this French drain change order number 1.
So how does
Now,
that show up to the client then? Do they?
I'm going to
they
show you. I'm going to
Okay.
show you, and it's going to be
Okay.
fun. It's going to be fun. All right. So that's how it's going to show up to the client. The client's going to see French drain change order 1, and they're going to be like, "Oh, that makes sense." Okay. And I've done change orders. I did a change order last week. It was I don't know, 30,000. And it was basically for additional pavers, a fence, and I said, additional pavers, fence footings and whatever, change order number 1. And I just put notes in there. I don't write a paragraph. I don't use proper English. I just put pavers, fence footings. I forget what else was on the change order. And then I the software numbers them. This is important to know. If you create a change order, and because I have OCD and this drives me out of my freaking mind. If you create a change order and then decide, forget it, and you eliminate that change order, the software remembers that you had that change order, and the next change order, let's say that was change order number 2, and then you got rid of it. Okay. The software is only showing that you have 1 change order written, but when you go to write the second change order, it's going to name it change order 3. So we'll save it. All right. Now, Joshua, Jeff, here's the corn fusing part. Did you save it?
Yes.
All
and
right.
it went to gravel walkway.
Yes.
It's a gravel walkway calculator.
Yes. And so you have to remember which template you use, because it's going to save it to that template. Then I'm assuming, do you have a drainage template built yet?
A folder, you mean? Or
yeah, folder. Sorry.
It doesn't. No, I do not.
So add a folder and name it drainage, or whatever you want to name it. I don't, I'm telling you what to do, but
Yeah.
you
I
can
mean,
name
drainage
whatever-
makes sense.
What? Yeah. So name it
yeah.
drainage. And then once that's in, just drag and drop the French drain into the new drainage folder.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Now I told you to do it, and then I didn't do it myself, so I'm going to do it as well.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Well, I'm working out of 2 accounts, Jeff. Give me a break. And on one of my accounts, it's got drainage, and on this one, I don't. So, all right.
Oh, I love it. You're killing it.
Gravel, French drain. We're going to drop that into drainage. Right there. Okay. So that's done. Now, I'm going to hit save. Okay. Now we'll go to next. Okay, and you'll see when you get to the markup page, Joshua and Jeff, it's only showing what you've added.
Okay.
Now, Kevin is our main change order maker, and it's so funny. Most of the landscapers out there think that they need to give a client a deal because they're already on the job, and so they'll give them a deal. And Kevin, he doesn't he marks it up a little bit. Just
Okay.
Not a bunch, but he always marks our change orders up more than our regular PMM. You can do what you want, but you can change your markup there. It applies the tax. It remembers the tax from the original proposal.
Okay.
And so we'll go to packages. We don't need to create any packages because this is only 1 change order. So we're going to get rid of 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to go to preview. So this is what they'll see, Joshua. They'll see the French drain with the description. And then it'll say change order, French drain, change order number 1. And then down here, you basically, this is going to keep track of any payments that have come through, right? So
it populates how many payments are remaining.
okay, so that's automatic. But then here, if it's a $70,000 change order, you can say, I'm going to tack on 3 more payments to the project, and you'll do that here.
Okay.
Okay.
At that point, it'll recalculate all of your payments. So you're going to have a different payment structure going forward because you added more payments, you added more cost. So it just
That's what's so cool about the change orders and the invoicing, guys. Are you seeing how it all works together?
Yeah.
I mean, and when you start getting into hundreds of thousands of dollars in change orders, it gets really confusing. And the client's like, what's my next payment? And I'm like, I don't know. Can you give me $100,000? And they're like, sure. There's no way, there's no structure to figure out what their payment is. I just did it by hand the other day. I was on the phone with Greg because invoicing isn't working. It took me 20 minutes to figure out what the client's next payment would be when we calculate in what they've paid, how long, how many days it is. And our software, it does all that and basically says, all right, the new payment structure is X. And then it's all in the invoicing. And then you just hit the next payment and it's got a whole new payment structure to it.
That's really nice. I like that. I appreciate that, I should say, because we've had some issue with that as well, and getting estimate rocket and thinking through how we clearly communicate that to the customer. And it just has been a little bit of just a communication thorn in the side, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, scroll down. One last thing to talk about, Kelly, on this. Scroll down. So already, where it says already paid. So if they've already paid something, as long as you've entered it into the system that they paid, then it'll show up here. But you always have the ability, if they've paid, let's say they paid $10,000, they're handing you right now another $10,000 check. It's blue because you can change it. It'll say 10,000 is in the system. They just hand you a $10,000 check. You could add another 10,000, put 20,000 there. So it calculates everything now that you've got this additional payment.
Okay.
I'll tell you this, guys, I am all about not emailing proposals to clients. But once they're in our system, once we've sat down and we've gone over proposals with them, I have no problems sending a change order. Now, if it's a $75,000 change order, I'll more than likely want to meet with them or at least jump on a phone call with them so I can explain why the change order is what it is. But I have no problems sending these change orders to these clients.
Okay.
The hardest part we're finding out right now is they'll be like, yeah, it sounds good. And they won't actually sign them. And so you have to call your client and be like, hey, I need you to sign this because I can't update my project catalog, my calendar, and my guys don't know the budgets until you sign it. So and then they're like, okay, whatever. And then they sign it and you get the email and
everything updates at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I don't know if you know this, Joshua, and Jeff, sorry, Jeff, I keep forgetting about you because I can't see you. So anyway,
don't forget about me. I'm here.
Okay, guys, when the client signs the change order, it automatically updates the project budget. Okay. So, and I think this is for me, and we're watching this in real time. It's almost better than Christmas. I mean, it's freaking cool what this does. So one of our projects, the client signed, it was like a 6-day change order. Okay. So you would literally go in and then view the project budget. It is going to show you that up here, this project was 18 days. If the change order added 3, automatically it says 21 days.
Nice.
So your crew now knows, okay, I got 3 more days, and it automatically adds that budget down here to their budget.
And it's labeled change order, so it's very clear to them.
No, it's not labeled change orders. So we're going to say create change order. And we're going to name it. We'll just name it French. We'll do a lighting change order this time. Okay. So we're going to call it lighting, front yard lighting. Okay. So we're going to do that. And then I'm going to go in, and this time I'm going to add a new work area. And we're going to name the work area change orders. And now I'm going to add the lighting. Was this Joe homeowner? Okay. I'm going to add my lighting. And I'm going to add the work area. Okay. So now we'll just fill this out real quick. We'll be super simple. We'll do 12 path lights, 12, and we'll do 6 and 6, 3, 1, 150, and then 300. Okay, cool. All right. So now the change order is made. We'll send it. So I'm good with all this. I'm going to hit send. I'm kind of doing this in real time because I want to see if what I'm saying is true. So, so it's 4892 and it's under change orders, low voltage lighting. I'm actually good with that. So, I'm going to select it. I'm going to approve this bad boy. Okay. I'm going to purchase. Let's go back. Right there. So now all of your change orders, Joshua, you're just going to put them under the work area of change orders.
I see. I like that.
Yep. So now when your guys come in here, they'll see that, okay, we've got budgeted days, but oh, we added low voltage lighting. And I think that's a really slick way to do this. I actually like it this way. It keeps them separate.
I like it. I like it that way too.
And that way your crews know, okay, these are my change orders. This is the original contract. And, you know, I've got an extra day of change orders.
Or no. It was when you're setting up your payments. Maybe I have something wrong in my system. Maybe we just get on a call one-on-one and we look at what's going on, but it doesn't, a lot of those numbers in the page are just zeros.
You don't necessarily send $100,000 job. You send them packages, you know, from ranging from 90,000 to 120,000. And so until they select a package, we can't calculate what their actual payments are going to be.
Okay. That's
as soon as you say, I want this package, it calculates it for you.
Gotcha.
That's the beauty of the software, right? Because once I hate, you have to longhand it. And then, so they pick, oh, okay, we'll do package 3. And then they click on it and it's like, all right, here's your payment schedule and your down payment and you're good to go.
Okay. What do you, other items that you typically put in the mainframe? Then obviously mobilization is like a staple. You always have that in the mainframe, but it sounds like you put other things like bark.
No, I don't do bark. I'll tell you exactly
what.
No, it's everything that has to be done in order to do the rest of the project and everything that we require us to do in order to do the project. And what really made me think about this was several years ago, I had a client back in my dumb days. I didn't know my freaking butt from a hole in the ground, seriously. And the client was like, I want to do my own sprinkler system. And I was like, all right, oh, freaking A. We had to demobilize, wait for him to get the sprinkler system done. Then we come back and now we ran over his sprinklers because we didn't know where they were. It was a disaster, right? Mm-hmm. So from that day forward, I'm like, no client is ever allowed to do their own sprinkler system. If they want to, we're not doing the project. So that's where I started just saying, right here. Now, mine's a little bit different, Joshua. You might want to give your clients the option of to do basalt boulder outcrops or not. I don't. It's one of our signature looks. If they ask me to take out the boulders, I politely let them know that the job won't look like a legacy job. And then if they ask me to do it again, fine, I'll take out the boulders and I'll put that down here as a line item. Okay. But I don't want to show them how much the boulders cost because I want them to put it in. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
If they see that the boulders are $4,673, they might be like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm not putting boulders in for $4,673. Uh-huh. But when they don't see how much the boulders cost, when they don't see how much the mobilization costs, they just see one big number. They can't decide, I don't want boulder outcrops. So it's everything. So basically this is really typically what goes in our mainframe. This is a great one, right? Okay. So mobilization, rip out removal. We have to do rip out removal. There's no way ifs, ands, or buts about it. We have to bring in beds, soil for the beds, right? We have to. We're going to bring in basalt boulders because we designed it in. That's our signature. Period, end of story. I'm going to put that in mainframe. Don't want them to see how much it costs. Edging goes in, irrigation system always goes in mainframe, and downspouts. But this really is what goes in the mainframe. Always our downspout adapters, they always go in mainframe.
Okay.
Now, let's say you wanted to give them the option from poly edging to concrete edging. Well, then you wouldn't put poly edging in here. You'd put it down here so you can give them that package. Okay.
And that makes sense. That part.
Right.
Makes
So
complete
anything
sense.
you want to package out will go down here. Now,
Yeah.
lawn with sod, that's down here. I don't quite know why. I don't know what project this is. I don't know. I don't know why I put lawn with sod down here because we're not giving an option for sod. Normally that would be up here. I don't know why that's down here.
Okay.
But if I'm giving them the option of hydroseed and sod, they'll both go down here.
Okay.
I always give them a line item of what my beds with rock are going to be, because sometimes it's always the husband's like, well, I can do that myself. Okay, whatever. I'll package that out.
Okay.
And then plants and trees. That's a really, I don't want to hide that number at all. I want them to see what they're spending on their plants and trees. Gravel walkway with edging. I always make those because those are always going to be optional, right? I can package this out the way it is.
Okay.
You don't want to bring in your own soil. It's a pain. Our machines are going to be here. We can do it fast. But if you want to do your own rock, that's a great way for you to contribute to your landscape. And it's easy. It doesn't take any brains. You can do it. It won't look different if you did your own rock or we did it. It won't look like Joe Homer owner did it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, as long as you put enough down.
Right. But that's
Try
right.
to spread it thin.
So,
yeah.
But Joshua, but once they get into the project, 90% of the time, they're going to go ahead and upgrade to the beds with the rock.
Yeah. Yeah. Because most people don't really want to do that.
No, they don't. And as I always say, you got to give the wife time to tell the husband that he doesn't need to do the rock. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
And then you know it, Jeff, because obviously your wife has to convince you of the same crap, right?
All
Babe,
the time.
You don't need to do it. Okay. We can afford it. Just, I would rather go spend time with you.
Yep.
So that's why I always tell you guys, get the husband to sign off on package 1 and let the wife upsell him to package 2, 3, and 4. 80% of the time, that's the way it's going to work.
All right.
So that's what goes in my mainframe. Makes sense?
No, that's helpful to see that.
So he built the main. So he's got 2 work areas. He's got the kitchen area, and he's got our mobilization is in the kitchen. And then we have, removal of concrete, blah, blah, blah. We always are going to have something in mainframe. We're always going to build a mainframe because I don't want the client to see it's costing them $3,000 in mobilization. They just don't need to see it.
Right.
So
I see that he has a second mainframe in this.
right.
Yeah.
And in the second mainframe, we chose not to add mobilization. So basically what we're going to tell the client is, hey, if you add this, this is so funny psychologically. Okay. I don't like, and I've told you guys this before, I will never post how much mobilization costs because it's a cost, right? But I'll always tell them what they're going to save by going with both areas, right? So I'll never say your mobilization is costing you $3,000, but we will say if you do the pergola area with the kitchen area, it's going to save you $3,000 in mobilization, right? And at that point, they're saving $3,000, and it's like, wow. But I don't want to tell them they're spending $3,000. Does that make sense? Craig's laughing at me.
That makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's that psychology of sales. It's
psychology of sales, guys. And I'm telling you, don't ever tell them what they're spending on mobilization, but always tell them what they're going to save in mobilization, because it's 2 completely different ideas, same price.
Which is completely true. They are saving $3,000 if they want you to come back and do that another day. They got to pay for mobilization again.
Right. And it's like they don't psychologically register that, holy shit, we're spending $3,000 on the first one. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
When I say I'm laughing because that is psychology of sales. You're giving them all the information, but it's how you present it.
Yeah. So you tell them, look, if you do the pergola area, it's going to save you $3,000 in mobilization. If we have to come back and do it later, I'm going to have to rebid this. And I never say I'm going to put the $3,000 in mobilization back in. I just say I have to add my mobilization in. Listen, I'm just telling you, I'm teaching you guys, this is probably some of the most valuable shit you will ever learn in this industry right here. Because and Greg was with me, guys. Greg was with me in 2009 when I was learning all this crap. And he was at a point in his career where he and I would talk. God, Greg, I'll bet you we talked some 2 to 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because I would be driving and I would be telling him like, oh, I was reading every morning. And I was like, oh, I learned this. And he used to make fun of me because I was like, dude, I learned this new close. And he was like, that would never work on me. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not my client. And he was like, whatever. And then I would use it. And he's like, how'd it go? I didn't go very well. but I did find some closes that work like magic. Right. But anyway, he and I would just talk and talk and talk. And he was there as I was learning all of this stuff with me and
figuring out the landscaping industry. Should you rent? Should you own? All these little things. How do you keep track of it all?
Yeah.
But it's the psychology and never telling them what they're spending on mobilization, but telling them what they're going to save it's money. It's magic. And as I've told you before, and Joey and I had this conversation yesterday, I trust Kevin to do bids in the software when it comes to change orders. Okay. Because Kevin doesn't get paid a commission, and he's been with me for 30 years. And he's literally like I tell you guys all the time, I'm Maverick. He's Goose. He's got my back every day of his life. He's got my back. He knows I take care of him. You don't know it, but I'm actually getting choked up telling you about it because I love him so much.
Mm-hmm.
I would trust him with my family. Like, so he's allowed to do bids. Joey is not allowed to do bids. And I'll tell you why. And I told him this yesterday. It's not that I don't trust you. It's that I don't trust me. And I use this analogy. I have 2 safes in my garage. One of my safes has, photos in it and all that kind of stuff. And then I bought a new safe, much bigger, and that houses my guns and my cash. And sometimes I have a lot of cash in my safe. Now, my 18-year-old really wants the combination to my safe because his gun's in there, and for him, it was a rite of passage. He really wants the combination. I said, fine, I'll give you the combination to the safe when you're 18. Well, he turned 18. He's like, it's time for me to get my combination. And I said, Joshua, I've been thinking about it for a long time. And I will not give you the combination to my gun safe. I will not give your brother the combination to my gun safe. And I'm reluctantly giving my wife the combination to my gun safe. And it's not because I don't trust you. It's because I keep sometimes a lot of money in there. And sometimes I forget that I took money out. And because I'm the only person that's in that safe, I'm the only person to blame if there's not the money that I thought was in there. And I said, so it's not that I don't trust you, it's I don't trust me. And if I'm missing money, the first thing that my brain's going to think of is what did you do? You took some money, not because he would steal from me. And I said, for that reason, and Sarah, my wife, was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. I said, for that reason, I can't give you my combo. And I told that to Joey, and I said, it's the same thing with you. If you do a bid and you forget something or you underbid it, now I'm going to be upset with you, even if it wasn't your fault. I don't want that. Because he's making a commission, right? So now it's like you screwed the bid up. Now I have to give you a commission. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I can work it out in my brain so that I don't get angry at these guys, because that's the last thing I ever want to do is get angry with them. I don't want to get angry with my son if I misplaced some money. I don't want to even think that he took it because I know he would never would. He would never do it. So,
but you don't really fully know that for sure.
Right. That's the problem.